The opening of RhinoCam is similar to Grasshopper, or using any command in Rhino toolbar. Type in RhinoCam into the command bar to open the user interface. Once entered, a window will pop up from the side toolbar. The user interface contains a program toolbar, a simulate toolbar, and a browser window showing the set parameters. The program toolbar contains the parameters for the CNC job. Settings for the stock, toolbits, machine operation types are all controlled through this toolbar. The simulate toolbar allows simulations to be run after the recently listed parameters have been set. This is useful to review the generated toolpaths and to pick up any collision errors or anomalies in the overall execution. It is important for users new to the CNC machine to have their files be reviewed by the workshop staff before being executed. Just because no errors emerge from the simulation doesn't mean that the file is perfectly calibrated to the CNC machine. Be sure that the software is set to mill, as this toggle contains the relevant commands to be used by the 3-axis CNC machine. It can be found in the top left portion of the window. It is important to have only the relevant material in the CNC file. Make sure that the CNC file contains the stock material and geometry for the toolpaths to pick up. This will ensure that any automatic setups won't link to irrelevant geometry that is within the file. To set up the stock, click the drop-down arrow next to the stock button to access the options. There are several methods to select the stock based off its geometry. The top 4 options will pick up the geometry that is in the file and form a boundary to edit from. The toggles in the diagram reference where the stock dimensions are being based from and can change based on which toggle is on. If the stock is already modeled, then it can be selected instead. Now that the stock has been created, the name of the project browser will change. The visibility of the stock can be toggled at the bottom of the project browser. Once the stock is created, it can then be aligned with the modeled object from the Align Stock button from the drop-down of Align. This part will be modified by the workshop staff when setting up the file for the CNC machine. Another aspect that will be set up is the World Coordinate Origin, or WCS. This location defines the 0 point from which all toolpath points are interpreted by the controller. This part will also be set up by the workshop staff. Alternatively, under Machine Operations, the button Work 0 can also be selected to define the Work 0 origin. Under the Machining Operations dropdown are milling operations for various forms of cuts. The commands are grouped based off the number of axes that they will operate within. Relevant to the CNC machine are the 2-axis, 3-axis advance, and the holes commands. Clicking each dropdown will show specific operations relative to the group. Once the command is selected, parameters for the milling operation will need to be entered. As each type of axis-based milling operation has slightly different parameters, we'll address their workflows in separate videos. As machine operations are created, folders will appear under the setup group in the project browser. Clicking through the operations will toggle the toolpaths. Once the toolpath has been generated, they should appear over top of the geometry. If not, press the visibility toggle on the bottom of the project browser. The toolpaths are grouped into different colors based off of their function. For example, the yellow lines represent the plunge motion, while the blue lines represent the cut arc that is being created. These colors can be modified under the preferences. To simulate a toolpath operation, go to the Simulate panel in the toolbar. Click the specific milling operation folder that is to be viewed and click the Simulation drop-down panel. Options are provided for controlling the viewing simulation in addition to speeding through the operations, which can be controlled using the slider on the left. Once commenced, the simulation will display the operation of the milling path with the specified tool bit. This will display the entire toolpath operation from beginning to end. If there is a collision with the stock material against the spindle, the cut material will appear in a different color. Once the toolpaths have been reviewed and approved, they can then be exported into a text file that contains the G-code. Right-click the Setup folder and select Post. This will export all operations under the setup. Additional information of the milling operation can be found by right-clicking the setup folder and clicking Information. Here, information regarding the machine time can be accessed. Be aware that this information can change if the milling parameters from the CNC are not properly coordinated with this file.